fam? How's everyone doing today? You guys looking forward to learning a little bit about Snapchat for Business? Let's do it. I'm really excited to be here. This is actually my third Social Media Marketing World as a speaker and attendee, so I'm really honored to be here. I really look forward to presenting to all of you over the next 45 to 60 minutes. And I just want to give a cheap plug to my account right here. If you don't follow me on Snapchat, be sure to add me at the Carlos Gil. I also want to do something different. Actually, I've never done this in a presentation before. Make sure that you turn on the discoverability functionality on your phone, and let's everyone in this room add each other on Snapchat. Let's do it. So a little bit about myself, guys. I have worked in social media marketing for almost 10 years now. I've worked for some really large brands. I started social media for a supermarket chain by the name of Winn-Dixie down in the southeast. For those of you that are from Florida, Georgia or the Tennessee area. Used to work at Save Lives Ahead Digital, and I went to go work over at LinkedIn for a period of time, and I'm currently the global head of social media for BMC Software. So here's what I can tell you about the almost decade that I've worked in this industry. Social media evolution is inevitable. It's inevitable. Platforms are going to change. The people on these platforms are going to change. And guess what? As marketers in this room, there's nothing that you can do about it besides evolve along with the people and the platforms. And this is the reason why. This is the reason why today Snapchat is taking market share away from Facebook, away from Twitter. It's because social media is fragmented. And I like to use the example of a Rubik's Cube, because when you really think about the ecosystem today in social media, think about yourselves as consumers. How many of you in this room are on Snapchat? Look around. Last year when I did this same talk, maybe half the hands in the room went up. Now, let me ask you this other question. How many of you, by show of hands, wake up every single morning looking forward to seeing what your favorite brand posted on Facebook? One hand? Okay. Props. How many of you look forward to seeing sponsored posts on Facebook or in your news feed? Another person, okay. But look at that. The majority of you, okay, the 99%, don't use social media to look for brands. You don't use social media to buy into advertisements. So once again, social media has become a very fragmented ecosystem. So what I'm going to chat with you about over the next 35 to 45 minutes is how can you really leverage Snapchat? Most importantly, why your business should be on Snapchat, how to get started by growing your following, how to create content, and most importantly, because I recognize as a fellow marketer, how to measure and track the ROI of all of your activity on Snapchat. So the first stat that you absolutely have to know is that on any given day, over 41% of millennials in the United States are on Snapchat. The reason why Snapchat has caught on with millennials is because, let's face it, the nature of how Snapchat works is not Facebook, it's not Twitter, it's highly addictive, it's short, it's easy to digest. Once again, most people, when they go on social media, they're not using social media to engage or consume brand content. They're using social media to engage with their homies. So a lot of what you're going to hear me talk about, you're going to hear Shauna Ayala and other Snapchat thought leaders talk about, is that this isn't a platform to sell things to people. It's a platform to really engage and develop a relationship. And that's not just Snapchat though. That's social media 101. Now, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what Snapchat is not. So I've traveled all over the world. I've done talks overseas, South America, Puerto Rico, you name it, on this very topic. And along the way, I meet marketers. I have a lot of friends of mine that are in the industry, and over the last couple years, they've all dogged Snapchat. So I first want to address the objections that you often hear around Snapchat, and the reason why this is important, and I bring it up, because as all of you either go back to your offices and you convince your leadership or your CMO why you should be on Snapchat, or as you're sitting there today and you're getting started on Snapchat, you're going to be faced with some resistance. And the first is you often hear that Snapchat is only for teens and college students. And guess what, guys? That is actually incorrect, because 77% of Snapchat users are above the age of 18 years old. And this is going to continue to go ahead and grow. I'm looking in this room right now, I'm seeing a lot of professionals, okay? As folks like us in this room jump on Snapchat, as you hear these talks, you're gonna be much more inclined to go on. And the easiest way to find your friends on the platform is when you log on, go to Add Friends, search your address book, if you guys didn't know that hack, and you can see who in your contacts on your phone already is on Snapchat. So I often do this because I'll be at an event like this and I'll meet a Mark Schaefer, and he says, none of my friends are on Snapchat. And I have to say, have you actually gone in and seen on your directory who that you actually really know outside social media is on. So you'd be surprised. When you look at these numbers here, really focus on that 25 to 34-year-old demographic. That's the sweet spot. These are more what I like to call the older millennials or the senior millennials. These are individuals that are buying houses, getting married, having kids. Okay, and the reason why I say this is because this is the demographic that brands really should be focusing on how to get their attention. Now, I often hear also that the UI is difficult to navigate. Now, for those of you that are in the room, which is almost all of you that are on Snapchat, think about it. Using Snapchat is like using Tinder. You swipe up, you swipe down, you swipe left, you swipe right. It's not difficult to use. The other objection I will often hear from marketing execs is that there's no way to measure ROI. I often hear that my audience isn't on Snapchat, and what I say to anyone in this room or anyone in general, when it comes to social media, you should only really be on the platforms where your audience lives on. So I get asked this question all the time. Well, this is our business. The demographic that we are catering to is in their mid-40s. Should we be on Snapchat? Well, the answer is probably not. Snapchat can be a complete waste of time if the audience that you're specifically trying to reach doesn't fall within that sweet spot of the 18 to 34-year-olds. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. A lot of executives that I've spoken to about Snapchat over the last few years say there's no way our brand's gonna get on Snapchat because that's where kids go to send inappropriate photos. And here's what I say to them. Here's what you really need to know. Snapchat is a legit marketing channel. A legit marketing channel. And if you don't believe me, simply ask Gatorade. Last year during the Super Bowl and this year during the Super Bowl, Gatorade went ahead and invested in having a sponsored lens. How many of you in the room used a sponsored lens this year? It's only available here in the US. Guess what? More people used this lens, more people saw Gatorade's branding through this lens than the number of people who saw the Super Bowl itself. So 165 million people in one day, in a 24-hour span, saw Gatorade branding on their cell phone on Snapchat. The ad buy was far less than buying a Super Bowl ad, and more people were able to see Gatorade's content. Now here's what you folks absolutely need to know to take back to your offices. Snapchat is not another social network to sell things. Now hear me out here. I know this from working in marketing now for quite some time. We are all under intense scrutiny to drive results and ROI and clicks and conversions and all this great stuff. But the reason why Snapchat is not another social network to sell is because this is your audience. This is who you're talking to. You're talking to individuals who send content to their friends with rainbow vomit coming out of their mouths and with puppy dog ears and tongues. So because this is who you're talking to, you have to know who your audience is and create content that appeals to these people. Because guess what? If you're some insurance company that's just gonna drop some boring, stale picture content, you're gonna suck at Snapchat. That's just real talk, guys. Now, as we start getting into what Snapchat really is, first of all, it's a place to engage millennials and Generation Z. So if you have a business, if you offer a product or have a service, okay, that's trying to sell to anyone between the ages of 18 to 35 years old, you absolutely have to be on Snapchat. If your audience is a little older, then maybe it's subjective and you should really reconsider. Now, Snapchat is a place where product storytelling, or marketing on Snapchat, I should say, is product storytelling. And what I mean by that is, because storytelling at the heart is Snapchat, you're constantly telling a story to keep the conversation flowing around your brand. You're not necessarily marketing. You're taking, if you're Nike, the latest Durants, and you're telling a story about how amazing those Durants are, how they were made, the people that actually wear them. You're working with influencers that are wearing the sneakers, they're going out, they're playing basketball, and they're showing how the shoes look and how they feel, okay? That's not marketing, that's product storytelling. An example of that is Taco Bell. Taco Bell is one of the best and one of my favorite brands on Snapchat and all social media. And the reason why is because Taco Bell understands who their audience is. So when you peel back the layers of the onion, whether it's using Snapchat or Instagram or Facebook or whatever the platform is, think about your consumer, have them in mind, think about what platforms are they on, and what's the content that they want to consume, and most importantly, how are you going to keep them coming back day in and day out? Because once again, I asked all of you in this room before when we got started, how many of you wake up in the morning looking for brand content? And one hand went up out of an entire room. So because Snapchat is fun and it's much more engaging than Facebook or Twitter, the same principles still apply. If your content's lame, people are not going to come back. Taco Bell, where they really hit the mark from my perspective, is they're out working with influencers. They're making their content fun, creative, engaging. These are the principles of creating content on Snapchat. They're using the different features that Snapchat offers. You can draw on Snapchat. You can add text overlays. You can add Bitmojis. Now, for any of you that are facing this battle that I have faced internally at the company where I work, which is BMC Software, on how to sell Snapchat to an executive, the easiest way to describe it is it's Twitter meets YouTube. And what I mean by this is, think of tweets. They're 140 characters long. It's micro content. That's what Snapchat is. It's telling your brand story in 10 seconds or less. You have as many as 10 seconds or as little as 1 second for each snap. The YouTube analogy comes in because the majority of content created and consumed on Snapchat is in the form of video. So when you really think about your Snapchat channel, think of it as no different than a YouTube channel, with the only caveat being that that content disappears. Now, and there's probably someone here thinking, well, how do I go back and convince my executives or clients, if you run an agency, that we should be on Snapchat if the content disappears? Well, think about this as consumers. When was the last time that you ever went to see what your favorite brand posted a week ago, or a day ago, or a year ago, or a month ago? Chances are you don't, because social media operates in real time. Now, it's a really important study here from Edison Research that shows that brands are actually leaving Twitter. And again, remember how I said before, social media nowadays is very much fragmented. Organic reach on Facebook is awful. It's 1% or less, okay? A lot of folks are jumping off of Twitter. You've got Instagram now, let's face it. How many Instagram users here in the house? A lot of you, right? So Instagram's taking a lot of market share away from not only Snapchat, but other platforms as well. So when you really look here at the breakdown, this is social media usage amongst brands. And you can see where brands are starting to invest and spend their time more. You've got Facebook at the top, Instagram, and it starts to go down from there, Pinterest, Snapchat, and then Twitter. Now there's 3 challenges that all brands face, and this is really where I'm going to spend the most time in this presentation to go ahead and teach all of y'all. So 3 challenges that every single brand faces when they develop their strategy on Snapchat. And the first is, who am I trying to reach? Who's your audience? That's the #1 question that you absolutely have to answer. Is my audience a C-suite executive? So again, I work for BMC, we're an enterprise software IT solutions company. We sell to CIOs and CTOs, but that's not necessarily the audience on Snapchat. Or are we selling to a younger audience that might report into that C-suite? So question #1, social media 101, who am I trying to reach? Number 2 is, how am I going to reach them? So Snapchat's not as intuitive as Facebook, where you can just upload an email list into Facebook and start identifying all these Facebook users. You actually have to work to grow your following on Snapchat. And this is what I find not just with brands, but with users as well. It's happened when I joined 2013. You jump on Snapchat, you're all excited, and then you're like, shucks, no one I know is here, and it's not easy, and I have to ask people what their username is. And the third challenge is, how am I going to keep my audience engaged? So let's start with the first, which is how to grow your audience. The first thing that you want to do is you want to leverage existing social media channels. So when we launched Snapchat over at BMC Software last year, the first thing that we did was we had branding, we had creative assets that our agency made, and we put these out as tweets. We actually launched our Snapchat account around the time of our annual user conference in Las Vegas called Engage. And you can see here, we were really pimping out our Snap code, we had tweets going out, we were using the hashtag for the event. You see an example on the right-hand side, which is from American Airlines. They completely did a rebranding of their cover photo on Twitter, which has in there, let the snaps fly, and they have follows on Snapchat at American Air. So the point here, friends, is you want to leverage your existing social media channels, because let's face it, most likely your business, your company, your brand has been on social media now for the last 5, 6, 7 years plus. You've invested money in growing followers, you've invested money on reach. None of that goes away just because you're on Snapchat. In fact, you have to leverage your existing channels, not only to grow your brand's presence, but when you have content, to also let your Twitter followers or your Facebook followers know, hey, jump over on Snapchat because there's something really, really cool that's happening today. The next is social media influencers. So I have an example here from Sean Ayala, who's in the front row. He's actually going to be doing the talk tomorrow. Wave your hand, Sean. So Sean Ayala is one of the most well-known and most talented influencers on Snapchat. You can see here he's worked with the formerly known San Diego Chargers. He's worked with Lexus as well as Fox and several other brands. Social media influencers go a really, really long way to help you do a couple of things really well. One, they have reach, so they can help you grow your brand's account through their following. And the way a lot of influencers do that is when they do a takeover of a brand's account, they say, hey, today I'm gonna be taking over Lexus or Disney or whoever the brand is, go jump over there and see the cool stuff I'm doing. And two, they also help brands create content, which is a great challenge that brands possess. So social media influencers are definitely a resource to help you grow your account. Now, if you're thinking, where do I go find a social media influencer? Nowadays, guys, influencer is what we used to call blogger back in 2007, 2008. These are individuals that have reach, let's face it. So my advice to you, if you're a hospitality brand, healthcare brand, go on Google. You can do a couple searches. You can either tap in Snapchat influencer, you're gonna find folks like Sean, or you can go ahead and specifically type in healthcare blogger, travel blogger, foodie blogger. You can run those searches for the city that you're in too. And I say this for a couple of reasons. A lot of influencers that are formerly known as bloggers have mailing lists that you can tap into, so when they do a campaign for your brand, they can drop in the snap code with the email that goes out. They have websites that they can create blog style content promoting your Snapchat account. Now that helps the SEO value for anytime someone's searching your brand in Snapchat. So that would be my advice to you if you're looking to work and partner with influencers. Now, a couple of different examples here of influencer takeovers are with Chegg and Sephora. Sephora is one of my favorite brands to follow, not just on Snapchat, but on social media. And once again, when you work with influencers, you're essentially contracting them to take over your account for a day or for a period of time. Now, this is what I like to call a ninja growth hack, my friends. So you can actually run Facebook and Instagram ads targeting Snapchat users. I did this last year as a growth hack, if you will, where I spent $50 on Facebook and Instagram ads, and I grew my Snapchat by over 1,000 users in the period of a month. And the way I was able to do this is you can see the creative on the left-hand side with my snap code, with a call to action. I actually optimized these ads for engagement, and think of what most people did. There's nothing to really engage with. Most people instinctively screenshot the post, and then they added me on Snapchat. So it was a way to almost game Facebook and Instagram ads to get more people to screenshot this creative and then add me on Snapchat. But the key when you run any sort of paid advertising, if you're gonna go down this route, is to make sure your ad is hyper-targeted. So my ad was targeted based on a specific age range. It was also targeted to Facebook users that like Snapchat on Facebook. In addition to, I believe they also had to like Social Media Examiner and other publications as well. So if you're sitting out there, you're a brand, you have a little bit of budget to work with, I would highly encourage and recommend that you run paid media as well. Now let's talk about geofilters for a minute. So geofilters are a great, inexpensive way to advertise your brand on Snapchat. What I really love about geofilters is that as a brand, you do not necessarily need to have a presence on Snapchat. You don't have to be creating content. You don't have to worry about growing your followers. You, if you're in retail, for example, or if you're a hospitality brand, can drop geofilters like MGM Resorts has done. You can drop geofilters on all of your properties, and now others out there that are gonna go to your location can tell the narrative through their perspective on their Snapchat to their friends using your branding. What's really cool about geofilters and how they've evolved recently is you can actually do event-based targeting. So think about your brand right now. Think about the different consumers that you want to get in front of. So for example, you see here on the screen, if you're a brand that has a presence in New York, or if you want to target a festival in New York, you can just simply go on Snapchat, go through the process of buying a geofilter, you can type the location, and it will tell you on that day what is going to be happening in the city. It also has pricing broken down. So this is a really cool feature that Snapchat has rolled out in the last several months, and I know a lot of folks out there, when they typically do Facebook ads, they do paid media buys, they like to do these geo-targeted buys. Well, this is a way that you can now do geo-targeted advertising through Snapchat. And I'll give you another example of geofilters. So again, when we launched our Snapchat account at BMC, We were hosting our annual engagement with over 2,000 customers, prospects, and employees. So we actually had geofilters at the entire Aria hotel. It was a really inexpensive ad buy. The geofilter was widely popular amongst employees and customers. Again, it's a really cool way, especially if you're in B2B, to make your brand much more cool and sociable. Now, let's talk about content. The key to content is your content should fall into one of these three categories, if not all of them. Your content should be fun, it should be creative, and it should be educational. Think about you as a consumer. The content that you consume on social media, whether it's Snapchat or any other platform, chances are you enjoy it because it's entertaining, typically it's funny, or it teaches you something, correct? So Snapchat is no different. So as you're sitting there at your brand, and you think about the content you create, I would really encourage as you storyboard out the story that we're gonna tell that has a beginning, middle, and an end. What pillars is this gonna fall in? Are you gonna teach someone something about your products, goods, or services? Are you going to incorporate some creativity by working with some influencers? And how are you going to be fun? That's the key word. The key word in social media is social. You have to be sociable. You have to be fun. Because if you just try to sell people this same old song and dance that they're seeing on every other social network, you are absolutely going to fail. An example of a brand that does this really well is actually WOW Airlines. WOW Airlines incorporates some fun, some creativity into their content on Snapchat. You can see here they have folks that load up the plane. They're on the, on the tarmac there. They show you their stewardess. So this is an easy hook here. Any of you out there that are thinking, how are we gonna get our corporation, our company on Snapchat? We're not the funnest brand out there. This is the low-hanging fruit. Use your employees. Every company out there has employees. I think your employees at the end of the day really should be the faces of your company. Those are the influencers within your organization. Another example of what we do at BMC is we have really started tapping into Snapchat from an employer branding standpoint. So we use Snapchat as a way to show our cool, fun company culture. And I often say this because we're a brand that a lot of folks have not heard of, but we're looking to attract the same talent that Dell and IBMs and HPs of the world are doing. And how are we gonna do that if people don't necessarily know our brand? Well, enter Snapchat. And through Snapchat, not only do we do campus tours, but we also will go out when we have job openings and we'll interview some different VPs. And again, this is short, easy to digest content, and that's the key. Okay, if you're creating content on Snapchat, your content's not intended, this isn't YouTube, this isn't a Facebook video where it's intended to be 5 minutes long. It's supposed to be easy and short and quick to digest. So I'll give you an example. Anytime we have job openings at BMC, we now identify who is the hiring manager for that job opening, and we'll do a very quick Snapchat story, as you can see here on the screen with them, where it's really about 4 to 5 snaps about who you are, why you should want to work here, talking about the company culture, and talking about the opportunity. Do we have any DJ Khaled fans in the room? A lot of you guys, yes! He's a success. I like to incorporate DJ Khaled into all my presentations. DJ Khaled is one of the most viewed Snapchatters out there. He gets over 3 million views per snap. And the reason why people want to see DJ Khaled jet skiing on Miami Beach and taking a shower and what he eats for breakfast, do you guys know why 3 million people see his content? Can anyone guess? It's because DJ Khaled is real. DJ Khaled does what most brands in the year 2017 don't know how to do, quite frankly. And that is be authentic and real. Every brand out there is constantly trying to push product and trying to create so much noise around why their product or their company is the best. But what they're failing to do is really make a human connection with their audience out there. So this is why I say every brand must be more like DJ Khaled and less like a brand. Because once again, friends, this is the audience that you're speaking to. Everything is about the audience. Everything. So let's talk about major keys to converting. The first thing is keep your stories between an average of 2 to 3 minutes. So because content isn't intended to be long, really sit down and storyboard your content out. If you're an agency that's working with a client, or if you're on the brand side and you're working with your agency, really think through, if we're gonna create a Snapchat story that's tied to a campaign or a product launch, what is the hook? What do we really want people to walk away from the story with? Especially if you're gonna be repurposing this content on Facebook or on Twitter, which I encourage that you do. What do you want people to see? So at BMC, I'll sit down with my team if it's around product launch, and we'll literally sit down. The first snap is gonna be someone from my team welcoming our viewers over to Snapchat. Hey, it's so-and-so from BMC. Thank you so much for watching today. Today's International Women's Day. Then the next snap is, here's what we're doing at BMC today on International Women's Day. And we're using the filters, and we're showing people consuming mimosas and having fun and seeing a couple of executives chatting. That content within 10 snaps is really sufficient. You're looking at a couple minutes worth of content. So the key is keep your story short. Also have a very direct call to action. So what do you want your audience to walk away with? Is it visit our website for X? Is it if you're interested in a job opportunity here, visit our website? What is your call to action? It's very important that you don't just create content for the sake of creating content, and don't ask your audience to go ahead and take action from there. The next is mix in brand content with takeovers. So once again, going back to the example with Shauna Ayala and other influencers out there, make sure that you keep your content fresh. You should know, if you work in social media, which we're at a social media conference, so you all do, you should know who are the people that are influential in your industry. Who's talking about whatever products, goods, and services that you sell already. And mix in those influencers or bloggers or advocates into your story. And I'll give you an example. We did this a lot when I was at Winn-Dixie many years ago before there was Snapchat, where we would have mommy bloggers or we would have customers of our brand create content on our behalf that we would then be able to use on Facebook or on Twitter. So the same principles apply in 2017 on Snapchat. Most importantly, keep content fresh and updated often. This isn't Facebook, this isn't Twitter, this is Snapchat. You have to keep your content fresh. People are gonna come back every single day. They're gonna come back continuously throughout the day because of the pure nature of Snapchat. Because content disappears because folks are so worried, there's that FOMO factor that they're gonna miss out on what their friends are posting. They're gonna keep coming back for more, and your objective is to ensure that you consistently have content fresh in their feeds to consume. Now, as we talk about actual monetization, you can monetize on Snapchat. I tell you, if you have an e-commerce business, the low-hanging fruit for you is create custom coupon codes that people can redeem. So as you're telling a story, you can say, hey, if you're interested in this product that we just told you this whole story about, go here to this website, use this coupon code, make sure that that coupon code specifically has some sort of indicator that you know it's from Snapchat. So for example, if you're Nike and you're promoting, once again, the latest Durant's or LeBron sneakers, you say go to our website, use coupon code SNAP for 15% off or for free shipping, and guess what? Now you'll be able to see based on redemptions how many people actually saw your content and took action, which is the conversion. You can also do things like flash sales. So I love this. Again, for any e-com business out there, you can drop in custom URLs and you can drive people back to your website directly through Snapchat. Now, they can't click from Snapchat, so this is once again where you have to be very, very compelling based on the content you create to say, visit our website and take action. An example here of a brand that has used Snapchat really successfully for this with flash sales is Sephora. So for Black Friday, they went ahead and sent an email out. So they use more of like the traditional digital media channel, being email. They sent an email out and they said you can go to our Snapchat account for a sneak peek. So again, use this as an idea. If you have an email list, if you are creating content around the goods, products, and services that you sell, leverage that email list to go ahead and use this Sephora example. Most importantly, make sure you're tracking everything that you're doing. I can tell you for a fact, you're gonna go back to your offices, you're gonna be all jazzed up about everything you learn in the social media marketing world. Hopefully you're gonna go back and you're gonna rave about this presentation, and you're gonna convince your organization to jump on Snapchat. What's really important is that you're able to go ahead and attribute everything that you do to dollars and cents, because you will be grilled by your executives on that. So once again, tracking URLs. Every single time you drop in a URL, make sure it has some sort of a bit.ly. You can use bit.ly easily. Okay, you can work with your webmaster. So if you're Nike, it can be nike.com/snap, .nike.com, whatever it might be. Make sure that every single time you drop a URL on your content on Snapchat, you can see the metrics, whether it's Google Analytics or bit.ly or whatever you use to see analytics. Make sure that you can measure things like visits. So if you're creating really cool stories on Snapchat and you have reach on Instagram, use Instagram as a tool. Now, don't just repurpose and take your Snapchat content and put it over on Instagram actually create really cool stories on Instagram and keep them independent. Because what you don't want to do is make your Instagram audience think all I'm seeing is like a rerun version of the content that they're putting on Snapchat. So once again, Instagram I recognize is continuing to just grow. They're adding really cool functionality in there. I've actually started to really jump into Instagram a lot lately, but I'm not keeping my eye off of Snapchat, and neither should you. Most importantly, friends, have fun. Have fun, okay? Snapchat is not Facebook, it is Snapchat. So I encourage, as you go back and you go to your offices and you sit through presentations, how are we gonna go ahead and incorporate Snapchat into our business? Fun is the key word, because once again, think about the rainbow vomit and the puppy dog lenses. That's the audience that you're speaking to. And if you're not having fun with the content you create, guess what? They are gonna turn off the channel just like they've turned off the channel on TV at home. Thank you so much, guys.
Questions, so please come up to the mic. This was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Was this helpful, guys? Yeah. Excellent.
You ready to go rock it on Snapchat? Yeah. I'm a convert, I have to admit, but I'm a wimp on Snapchat. But please, let's start with questions and line up here too.
Hey, I'm Frank Cohen with Clever Mo. It's a new startup I just did. I'm wondering how you think kind of the business issues around Snapchat are going to change the service or the community's nature post-IPO and without an ad network and all the stuff that we as advertisers are expecting to find on the other social sites.
Fantastic question. I think Snapchat IPO is one of the best things that could have absolutely happened to Snapchat. And the reason why is because they're a public company. Now they have to generate revenue and show the revenue that they're generating. Right now, let's face it, Snapchat doesn't have the same tool set that Facebook has through Facebook's ad platform. So I've heard it's coming. They've actually made announcements that they're going to be rolling out things like email matching, like you can do on Facebook currently. So I think it's just a matter of time. I know that there's some companies out there, like we work with Sprinkler over at BMC. I know there's some of those companies out there that are already working hand in hand with Snapchat. So I'll say it's a matter of time. Don't give up on Snap. To answer your question, I think the fact that they have gone public is going to drive more brands to the platform. And guess what brands do? Brands drive people, because brands have reach that the average consumer like you and I don't necessarily have. So I think that's a really good question. Yes? Yes?
Do you think there's any ethical issues in putting geofilters over top of competitors?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
In fact, if you're Walmart, you should be putting geofilters on every single Target location. If you're Champ Sports, you should be putting geofilters on every single finish line at every single mall in America. So I know that's one of those things. Now trust me, I've gotten in these debates a lot of times, and they're like, "Oh, from an ethics standpoint, you shouldn't do that." It's marketing. You're trying to get in front of their audience. It's no different than running a Facebook ad. From my perspective, targeting, if you're Walmart, no pun intended, target customers, it's the same thing. So I would encourage you absolutely to put geofilters on your competitors.
That's what I want to hear.
Just be ready, they're gonna get you back though.
Hi, Adam Cashman. My question is, how, as a business, how do you decide, or really how you decide between choosing to go with creating actual content on Snapchat or versus just using like a lens or paying to have like something like my man was just talking about, just over that business for a pretty short amount of time. How do you decide if you're a business which way you should go or to do both?
Comes down to a couple things. So the reality is that when you join Snapchat, you're not gonna have a lot of people seeing your content.
Sure.
So that's, let's just keep it real. You're gonna be creating content, you're not gonna have a lot of people consuming it. I would encourage you that if you want to very quickly grow your presence on Snap, use your email database, leverage your website, run paid media ads, and leverage other social media channels before you even go out and find an influencer. Because an influencer is going to charge you to create this really cool content for you, but if people aren't necessarily seeing it, then it's not going to necessarily be a good spend for your company. So I would definitely encourage that you leverage those other channels. Now, to really answer the heart of your question, if I'm a brand and I am getting on Snapchat, do I either do geofilters or create content? I would do geofilters.
And just to piggyback on that, just a client of mine is a hotel, and they're really kind of, I'm telling them they need to get on Snapchat, and just, I just don't want to do that. like the owner saw like the puppy dog and the rainbow mouth, like, come on. So I'm trying to find something to be able to say, hey, look, this is something we really need to do. But obviously the geotagging is interesting because obviously it's a brick and mortar, it's a hotel.
Right.
So
There's a lot of days where I crave working in consumer marketing again. Because when I was at Winn-Dixie, if I was still at Winn-Dixie or at Save-A-Lot, we would now have geofilters at over 800 stores in the Southeast US. So I think that is the approach that for this example, I would recommend that you take. And then what you do is you create a campaign around any customer, or in this case, guest that goes to that hotel. You create a campaign around them telling the narrative of their experience at that hotel. So now you're using your other social media channels. You have print signage. You can have the card on the hotel that says, while you're here, make sure you use our geofilter. And now it's putting the onus more on the customer. And you still have metrics. So you can still go back to your client and you can say, hey, these geofilters in a month were used 1,000 times and got X number of impressions. And it's almost more advantageous from my perspective than creating content on your brand's account, which very little people are going to consume.
So they definitely want to hear that.
Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Hey, Carlos. My name is Salvatore. My question is regarding repurposing snaps. So you touched base on this a little bit, but would you actually save the snaps and use them on different platforms, or would you use those platforms to send people to your Snap account?
I would use those platforms. Very good question. So the question was, with repurposing content, do you just save your Snap story, drop it on your other social channels, or you use the social channels to then send people back to Snap? I say you do a little bit of a mix of both, where you take maybe like one Snap, and then you put that on your Twitter, or you put it on your Facebook, and then you drop in a link saying, to see the rest, go over to Snapchat.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes?
Hi, my name is Atia Nasser, and I work for the State Department in DC. So by nature, we're engaging with people overseas at our embassies. I have not seen Snapchat pick up as wildly as it has in the US and other countries. So if you could just speak a little bit about how they're planning to roll out in international markets and how we can continue to engage with them outside of the US.
That's a really good question. So I know this for a fact because a lot of folks that follow me overseas are like in the UK, Australia, or India. So I think it's just a matter of time before, this is like anything else, Snapchat's still about 5 or 6 years old. I think it's just a matter of time before they start expanding to other countries. I think geofilters are going to be something that helps them expand quickly because people like the fact that there's some interactive branding that they can insert into their social media content. I can't tell you when specifically they're going to be in certain countries and whatnot, but once again, they're a public company now. It's in their best interest to make as much noise as possible. And I think, once again, like I said to this other gentleman, the brands are going to bring people to the platform.
And then also, do you recommend any or companies that we should follow that are doing a good job at breaking into Snapchat overseas?
Overseas? I do not. Do you guys have any foreign brands that you recommend? Go for it.
Not brands, you currently can't do geotagging because of law. They strict ads right now. You can do a lot with the yes, but you can't target yourself in here. So it's not that they can't do it, it's just they have problems with the privacy of the country. So you can do the video, but I would do it on the geofilter and use it in the US and sort of.
Is everybody hearing that answer?
Yeah. Can you, repeat that into mic, please?
Great answer.
No, Facebook and any kind of social platform has rules on country privacy. So Snapchat cannot do you can't buy the geofilter right now as a business to target. Same thing with Facebook ads, you can't use actual behavior data, for example, like for Canada, and just because of the privacy laws of some of these platforms. So I think it's going to go country by country based on, like you said, with the IPO, but right now your best country to use it on geofilter is the United States.
Are you with Facebook?
No, we're partners as an agency, so.
Hey, how's it going?
I work in the tourism industry at Convention and Visitors Bureau. I've been a huge advocate for bringing Snapchat to show off the city, but I want to ask what your best practices would be for a business that doesn't really have a product to sell, and we wouldn't really have codes or anything to prove that ROI.
So you're selling an experience, I would presume?
Yeah.
Is the experience why you should come to, for example, Austin, Texas, as a destination for your next meeting.
Right, show off the city, the
So-
cool like foodie spots.
So that's really easy.
Okay.
That's really easy. Create content around what makes your city amazing.
Okay, and what about like showing ROI for that? Because I've proved myself to that.
Absolutely. So is this B2B then? This is a B2B play? You're trying to reach other conference organizers?
Not necessarily that, but also like the travelers themselves.
Travelers themselves. So I would suggest partner with different restaurants, different hotels,
Okay.
and then have them create an offer. So for example, if it's my man here who runs an agency working with hotels,
Okay.
have a discount code. So for example, let's say Saturday, what city are you in?
Long Beach.
Long Beach, nice. So like Saturday, for example, you're gonna go around Long Beach, you're gonna show like where the spots that people should be having lunch at, where's the really cool brunch spots, and then you're gonna take that content and you're gonna promote on your Twitter, your Facebook, hey, go to our Snapchat story today to see how amazing Long Beach is. And then what you do is you drop at the very end that call to action saying, hey, if you're planning your next trip to Long Beach, make sure you stay at like the Marriott Hotel and use this coupon code and save 15% on us.
Okay.
Does that help?
And do you think, totally, do you think reusing that on like blog posts is beneficial as well?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's a touch point.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
All right, hey Carlos.
What's up?
How's it going?
Good.
Yeah. Well, my name is Parker Panel, and I actually have my own YouTube channel. So my question to you was, what are some ways that I can promote my YouTube channel without being too pushy?
Wow, that's a really good question. I'm a pushy person myself. How old are you, Parker?
13 years old.
13? Wow.
Yep.
Parker. You're doing it right here, so I've got an 11-year-old son. I have an 11-year-old son that has a YouTube channel also. And it's like anything else, man, consistency. You have to create content, you gotta make noise. So many people are afraid to make noise because they feel like they're gonna come off as a self-promoter or whatnot, but you know what? We're marketers, we're business people at the end of the day. You ask any small business owner out there to talk about his or her product, and they're gonna be the biggest self-promoter out there in their community. So I'd say keep creating content, my dude. Keep coming to events like this, network with people like myself and others in this room, and in no time, man, you'll be growing your channel and taking your game up to another level.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, man. I love that.
Hey, I have a question. My name is Monique Ramsey, and I heard that like colleges, different places have their own filter all the time. But for businesses, is this something, I kind of heard rumblings at a meeting that I was at, a medical meeting, and one of the guy's partners worked in Snapchat, and that you would pay a yearly fee, let's say, and you'd have your filter for your business. Is that happening or on the horizon?
Yeah, so they recently rolled out a subscription program, so you can have your filter run for the entire year. I would definitely recommend that you do that simply because social media never goes to sleep. So again, if you're a brick and mortar, if you have a retail business, your business might be closed, but someone in the vicinity might be around. So I would absolutely keep that running because let's face it, even if someone doesn't use the geofilter, it's still branding. It's still an ad that they get to see.
So, and is it the same place that you would do your geofilter for an event or one city?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Do you have time for one more from you?
I think so. Yep,
Okay,
go
so,
for it.
Most of the morning sessions that I've attended were focused around the kind of observation that organic on Facebook is pretty much dead. And so a lot of the recommendations were try and get as much of a direct connection as you can to your followers, like through their email subscription list to newsletter, things like that. That doesn't seem to be as big of an issue for Snapchat. And I'm wondering, since the audience is millennials and Gen X, are they even interested in email conversations?
It's completely different. So I would say it goes down to content at the end of the day. If your content through email is kicking ass, it's adding value, then people are going to open up the email, they're going to see it.
Yeah. So
But
even if you're a millennial, you're still opening the email.
I'm a millennial and I hardly look at my email, in full disclosure. But if it's a really catchy headline, or I know someone's gonna be emailing me and I really need to like check my email, I'll look, but like most brand content, I completely have phased out. Hopefully that helps. All right, thank you so much, guys.